You think you got me figured out, reading comments like they count. Drama feeds your empty soul. Truth ain't part of your life goals. All your screenshots and your claims, playing victim in your games. Why you always stirring up the top though? Getting out when people call you bluff, bro. Till I draw me direct to your energy, but nobody's buying what you're selling me. Fake it till you don't. Fake it till you don't. Fake it till you don't. Can't keep up the fraud forever. Fake it till you don't. Posting receipts that don't add up. Manufactured drama cup, overflowing with your lies. Time to cut you down to size. All your stories fall apart when we dig beneath the start. Why you always turning up the pot though? Getting mad when people call you bluff, though. I take more than me with your energy. Nobody's for you, what you're selling me. Fake it till you don't. Fake it till you don't. Fake it till you don't. Can't keep up the front forever. Fake it till you don't. Take that L and walk away. Nothing left for you to say. We see through a little show. Time for you to let it go. Stirring up the pot though. Getting mad when people call you bluff, bro. Acting like you're main character energy, but nobody's buying what you're selling me.
Hi, can y'all hear me? I hope you can hear me. I just switched computers and rearranged my office a little bit, so hopefully I set that up correctly. How's everyone doing? Hi, Jamie. Can you hear me? Let me type it in here. Okay, great. Thank you. So I was not expecting to go live today, but I just thought, I've been listening to a lot of different live streams, and I know a lot of us, and a lot of people are doing a great job going over, what Holman said, what information he was providing, but I thought it would be a good idea to let's see what he doesn't say, right? And more specifically, what does he not have answers to? And what does he say he doesn't have answers to? So thought I would do that tonight. So I prepared, when I say I really mean ChatGPT helped me with this. Because it was like I was doing this on the fly. So anyway, got a little presentation here. Let me see if I could change the view a little bit. Oh, they changed StreamYard. Oh, wow. Hi. That's crazy. Let's see. All right, let me see if I can move this around. Oh, well, I'll be in the corner. I'm in timeout. Oh, here we go. I'm in the middle now. Okay. So, what you don't know can't hurt you is the name of this live stream, or basically what my thumbnail is. And I know you can't see it because of this little box. So ChatGPT needs to improve in this area a little bit. So this is Delphi the lead investigators I don't know moments. Okay. All right. So tonight's roadmap. I'm going to go over the leaks and missing investigations. Go through court gag orders and unified command, forensics, and Odinism, Holder, and alternative suspects. Right? All right. I'm going to start with the leaks. I know everyone's tired of hearing about the leaks. This is what ChatGPT picked first based on everything that I wrote up. So we're going to start with that. All right. And what I have here too is specifically where it's in the affidavit. I was not going to put all of this on the screen because that would just be way too much text here. So we're going to start with the affidavit murder sheet. Lovely, lovely murder sheet. Okay. So do y'all remember? Oh my goodness, Siri, stop. Do y'all remember the, let me turn my phone off. That's hilarious. Do you remember the, Ron Logan, they just so happened to be in the system or actually, no, that wasn't that one, was it? I think that, anyway, Ron Logan's affidavit was leaked, okay? And I believe Ron Logan had stated that the police or the FBI, whoever was doing his search, left this affidavit with him. I mean, whether they did or not, I don't know. I wasn't there. We can't ask him. So when the defense during the deposition of Jerry Holman showed them I believe it's exhibit 27, Hi Mustang. And that's the lovely watermark, murder sheet watermarked on an affidavit. They asked Jerry Holman, what do you know about that? And he says, no clue. And there's a follow-up question here. Did murder sheet ever have that affidavit? He says he doesn't know. So you wouldn't know where they got it? He says, I have no clue. Lovely Jerry Holman moment. He just doesn't know. So, as a lead investigator, he cannot explain how this, there's a lot of information, I'm sure, normal prosecution and a normal, law enforcement wouldn't want to get out to the public, if you were, not corrupt or, doing an effective investigation, I guess. So he says, as a lead investigator, he can't explain how they got it. So, and this was in the March 1st, 2024 deposition with Hennessy. Right. So moving on. So Jerry Holman only remembers one leak probable cause, not the charging PCA. Should be PCA. Also, when we're going about, the investigation, right? There's a couple other examples that came out in this deposition. One is when they were discussing the Fortson interview. So you know how Jerry Holman decided it would just be a really good idea to, travel to Fortson's place of employment instead of going to Fortson's house, when he got off of work. So Holman asks who Fortson's attorney is. He says, I can't remember his name. I don't remember his name. Fortson told him. And when he's, pursued or questioned more, He says, I don't recall anything else. So, even in a contempt related investigation about leaked crime scene images, he just cannot remember basic details, which is just so convenient. Again, what you don't know, pretty much can't hurt you. So that was in the the March 1st, 2024 deposition, page 18. Oh, I forgot to move a slide. Sorry, y'all. All right. So also, he couldn't identify who Tyler Carpenter was or any telegram footprint. Didn't know. He only ever saw photos, not the actual messages. He says they talked about, charging Baldwin, but he doesn't recall for what crime. That's just very interesting, right? So he had discussions and they were trying to get creative, I would imagine, right? But you just can't remember, basic information when they're trying to figure out what to charge Baldwin with. Let me switch my view here because this is kind of distracting. So, another good point here is why change, or chase the defense, right? Hotter than the leakers. Isn't that crazy? Because if you think about it, the whole objective really was to, basically, figure out where the leak was coming from, who has these images and all that. But it seems very evident to me that they were only, they only cared about the defense. They were so focused and zoned in, let's get them, that the whole objective, again, trying to, maybe patch up this leak. They couldn't do it. He couldn't do that. And he just doesn't remember. I find that very strange. It just, just speaks like how the investigation is. Let me check in with chat real quick. So I said hi to Mousy. Oh, hi, Paula. How's it going? Good to see you. So, going back to what crime they wanted to, charge Baldwin with, he says he's asked if he discussed with prosecutor, I think it's Hamner, if I'm not mistaken, he's, of what they were wanting to charge Baldwin with. He says, more than likely, yes, but I don't recall the actual crime. So again, I know I keep on talking about this, but this is just really aggravating. He admits that they were looking to charge the defense, but doesn't remember the specific statutory crime that they were trying to pin on them. Okay, moving on. So the in-chambers conversation about sharing discovery outside the defense team. Y'all remember that? The lovely in-chambers meeting. So what can he answer here? So there's a question to him. Are you familiar with a conversation in chambers about the defense being able to share information with people outside the defense team? His answer was, I'm sure I have, yeah. And then he was asked to tell them more, where he heard it. He had no explanation. And he says more specifically, he says, I'm assuming it would be Mr. McClelland. So he's at the center of a contempt dispute, but when he's asked about a key legal, permission, he can't provide details and he only assumes his source. Other leaks, right? This is, this this whole thing was, there was leaks all over the place. I mean, early on in the investigation. So he was asked, did you investigate any other leaks? Holman says, we inquired on some, but no official investigation. Then he's asked, do you recall leaked probable cause affidavits, 2 different PCAs? He only recalls the FBI PCA on Ron Logan's search, but doesn't recall the charging PCA leak. He says, no, I don't, and it's inaudible in the transcript. He's asked another question. Any recollection of people saying their source was law enforcement? Not specifically. Are you claiming court staff as their source? No. That was his answer. So despite years of leaks, including an unredacted chargeable or charging probable cause, he doesn't know details who about who claimed what. He says only informal inquiries were done, no official investigations. Doesn't remember or denies knowledge of the unredacted charging PCA leak. Moving on to Tyler Carpenter. He can't answer, didn't establish this whole Tyler Carpenter and Telegram source. So he admits Tahara contacted them, but he says, I don't exactly know how she contacted them. Doesn't remember. I call BS. So she says that she got 3 photos from Tyler Carpenter. And more specifically, he answers a question and says, she didn't know. I couldn't find any information on Tyler. And when he's asked about Telegram, he's asked, was there any info on Tyler Carpenter in Telegram? He says, no, wasn't any information on it. He's asked, did you see messages from Tyler? He says, no, just photos. I mean, that might be, I don't know. I don't know how Telegram works. I'll look at chat if any of you know, but it doesn't seem like he really, pinned down the whole Tyler Carpenter leaks or alleged leaks. So he admits he couldn't find any information, didn't capture a Telegram user ID, only saw images, not the message source. So, this is like, this kind of pretty much sums up this whole Richard Allen investigation, if you ask me. Tahara comes to him, allegedly, and, probably brings in her phone, right? And she's just showing him photos, and he's sitting here saying, hey, I didn't bother looking at her phone. Are you kidding me? You're like literally looking at the phone. You can't like X out of whatever. I don't know how this app works or whatever, but you can't like say, oh, let me write down the user number because, me as a law enforcement, maybe I could subpoena Telegram or, the phone or how about this? How about take the phone and, maybe ask for permission, but extract it? I mean, might take Cecil like 5 years to figure it out, but I mean, still, but, didn't capture any Telegram user ID or any information. So that's just great. Another I don't know moment. So, here's a question for y'all. So how does one run a unified team with no clear memories? I would like to know. All right, so I'm going to go back on this whole Logan thing because I don't know if I covered this already, but I have this in my notes. He was asked, did you ever talk to Logan about where he got it? No, I never spoke to Ron Logan. You I'm sorry. Let me go back on screen real quick because I'm sorry. This is just it, I really don't want to laugh, but at some point things are just so pathetic. It's like you either laugh or cry. No, I never even spoke to Ron Logan. Let that sink in, guys. You never ever spoke to Ron Logan, the man that's, has two dead girls that were murdered viciously on this man's property. And you're saying you never, ever, never, ever, quote, never, ever spoke to Ron Logan. How is that possible? So if anyone wants to check this out, this is page 28 of the March 1st, 2024 transcript. I just, wow. Okay, so moving on. Well, some more, I don't know, So let's go to Professor Turco. Make it bigger here. No, that's smaller. Here I am again. Sorry about that. They switched this whole thing up. Can y'all see it? Is it big enough? Sorry about that. All right, so in chambers, gag order discussion. Any conversations about an in-chambers discussion concerning the gag order tied to re-interviewing Brad? I don't recall was his answer. I think I got a lot of this here. I switched my slides up at the last minute. So he's asked about the prof. And he says he doesn't know what he was saying. You guys know, like these people were watching they were all on the podcasters because they were just waiting for a moment that anyone would leak information like that it's clear to me that they were monitoring this, and the fact that he doesn't really know who, kind of made it seem like he didn't know who prof was. It's just ridiculous. So he says he knows Greeno mainly as a criminal, not as an info source. No clear tracing on how online figures got their material. So again, he didn't track stuff down, in my opinion. So going back to the prof, he's asked, who is the prof? He says, I don't know who it is, but I've heard of, it's also a podcaster. Like, okay. Do you know anything about information he was discussing or disseminating? No. So even while investigation leaks misinformation, he has no idea who key online commentators are. That's really interesting. Anthony Greeno, he acknowledged, like I said, he acknowledges knowing of Anthony Greeno mainly as a criminal, and because people would tell me he was talking about the Delphi case, but there's no indication of a deep follow-up into into what Greeno was spreading or how he got his information. So again, multiple quote internet people unquote discussing Delphi, but very limited, clear explanation of what was done to trace their sources, which I don't buy that at all. What y'all think? Let's see. I'm checking in with the chat. I plead the fifth. Jamie says you can share anything on Telegram. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind. I have no idea how you do not talk to Ron Logan. Just twisted fantasy. Jamie says, yeah, the state was definitely watching. If only the defense was prior to trial. Yep. Only if you, Delulu, only if you wore tinfoil. Yeah, I don't think you need a tinfoil to kind of see through this. This is pretty much like transcripts that I'm going off of. Like I'm quoting him here. Delulu, I remember asking who he was and Fig saying, you don't want to know. And he was right. That's a good point. Morning. Good to see you. I'm having a morning Corona right now. All right. I'm not sure who you're talking about it, but I would believe people involved in the case didn't follow these people. Pat's won. Oh, it's Thursday, isn't it? Were they playing? Were they playing Detroit? Because if they were, do you know what that means? Sorry, I was trying to do a drum roll there. Didn't work very well. Hey, Fish, what's going on? Oh, the Jets, darn. I thought they were playing Detroit. These slides are throwing me off a little bit here. They do not match my notes. So ChatGPT failed today at these slides. So I might just ditch this, y'all. All right, let me see. All right. So moving on to forensics. So we're talking about time of death, right? No time of death was ever given. So he can't answer that question. And I get it. He's not a medical doctor, but like you would think he would know why they couldn't determine, right? So he's asked why the pathologist in an investigation did not establish a time of death. He says the pathologist did not give a time of death. And he says, I don't recall the reason why we did not attempt to give a time of death. So, even after years, the lead investigator cannot articulate why they didn't try to establish a time of death in a double homicide or what the pathologist's reasoning was. Like you would think like, okay, like I would think really, hey, why couldn't you do this? Did you check the stomach contents? And I realized the pathologist got their the next day or late, right? So might have been too late for a thermometer or something like that. But like we had the coroner come. Like what did they do? I think that would put a lot of things to rest, wouldn't you? Even if they were in like a 3-hour window or a 4-hour window or something. So he was asked, like I said, were body temperatures taken at the scene? He says, I don't know. You'd have to look at the crime scene investigator's report. And he goes on to describe logs, but doesn't confirm if temps were done. So I think that's a pretty important part of the investigation, right? I mean, like, at least have an explanation. So, fundamental for time of death analysis. He doesn't know whether temps were taken and hasn't internalized that detail. Crazy to me. So another thing Holman doesn't know. So moving on to Odinism. So was Holder re-interviewed after what is it? Is it Botcher? Am I saying that right? I swear I heard that name like 100 times, but I don't for some reason can't recall who it was. I think it's Bocher. Sorry if I'm botching this. And this was like more specifically came up when they were talking about Ryan Winter's report. And guys, I want you to remember this. And I don't know if anyone tuned into Criminality. Her and Sleuthy Goosey went over the depo for Ryan Winters. And what stood out to me during that interview was that Ryan Winters couldn't download some case files about, his reports and stuff like that. Like he went into, because like that is something I would do. I would, before I'm going to a deposition, try to review all the case notes and make sure that, I do a good job for the state of Indiana, ISP. I would go in and read all my notes. I don't see anything wrong with that because you're given testimony, right? And he couldn't get into. He was locked out of his reports. Not all of them, some of them. So that was a little crazy to me. Like, why was he denied access to that? Like at some point, I'm thinking like that would have been a decision. Like somebody would. I can't foresee. Like an explanation to that would be is like some systems I worked in, you can give people, permissions to like, and like say if you have like, I'm trying to use the private sector here, but if I'm assigning something to somebody, right? And I know they're like on a contract or something, I can put, a date in there to lock them out of the system. But a current, employee, that's kind of crazy to me. Like to me, somebody had to go in there and manually deny access to certain things. That's just me. That's my speculation. So, he's asked, I don't know if I said this already, but whether Brad Holder was re-interviewed. Says, I don't know. I'd have to review more reports. Okay. So this is the lead investigator, of this. This is how he's being presented. And in the beginning of this depo, for those that didn't catch my other live streams, he says, oh, I was prepared for our, the deposition that they were supposed to have. I guess they were supposed to have a deposition and it got rescheduled. Maybe it was because the attorneys were kicked out of the case. But anyway, he says he was prepared before, but he didn't, essentially have time to, look over things. That was his. I mean, you're given a deposition again for a double homicide that you're the lead investigator on. You make time. So I don't think it's that. Checking the chat. Yeah, I think so too, Jamie. I think he was being. It was like being a troll. You know what I mean? He was like trolling them, and the attorneys were like getting really pissed off about it. At certain points of this, and that's probably common in a way. I mean, I can't foresee the law enforcement welcoming, defense attorneys with a hug. I get it, but like I think it was very like egotistical in a way. So moving on. Oh, my slides. Sorry about that. Okay, so moving on back to the Brad Holder stuff. And Odinism and all that stuff. On one slide, I'll try to get through this. So he's asked about a key Odinist style photo. Okay, he said, I didn't not look at it. He says the people that were working on the Odinism thing did. And he was then shown a exhibit I, that's Botcher's material. And he's asked, have you seen that? I don't think I have. No, I may not have. Another thing Holman doesn't know. So, he simultaneously says that he didn't look at a highly relevant photo. And keep in mind, whether he believes this or not, right? Like at this point of the deposition, it's been kind of clear that this is how the, defense was rolling with this. I mean, and there's some breaks going on in here, probably Nick having to use the bathroom 100 times. So yeah, he didn't look at that photo, or he doesn't recall. He's then asked about the social media photos given to experts for comparison. He's asked, did you ever give the experts the Holder photos? Okay, so these are the like the Facebook photos. And he's asked if he was given those photos to experts to compare to the crime scene formations. He says, I don't know. And then he's asked again to compare them. I don't know. Oh, he knew. Because if you remember, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Holder or somebody in the, waiting? And wasn't, he wasn't the first one to go on a deposition either, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. So he relied on unnamed professionals, right? Like he was involved in this. He was involved in this whole Turco thing. He says he wasn't, but he was. So he doesn't recall if he ever saw the critical comparison photos, that the defense had to generate for themselves, if you remember that. So then he's asked, when was Brad Weber covered? He says, you'd have to look at the reports. I don't know. You'd have to look at it. So he couldn't provide even like the ballpark time frame of when this major alternative figures investigation occurred. And another thing, this I know for a fact, it wasn't just, they didn't stop at Turco. They had different agencies helping them throughout the years. So as much as that he wanted to be dismissive of this whole theory, um, I think what the U.S. I think if was it the U.S. Marshals, they were involved. The Marshals asked if they looked into it, and they had a doctor come in for a week, I believe, or a somebody who specializes in ritualistic, rich, I don't know, ritualistic rituals. Whatever you want to call it. Like, they had people that came in throughout the years to look at this, and they all, really recommended to get an expert on it. So the fact that he's saying he doesn't remember like a ballpark, like the when this occurred, or can answer information about it, it's I think he was being very untruthful there. So about this is, moving on to more about Brad Weber, the Liberty landfill. So he was asked where that was located in relation to, or in related to Delphi. He says that Holder's alibi was him working at the Liberty landfill, right? And they asked which landfill. Said Liberty. Where's that? He says, I don't know. I'm not sure. Then he's asked, you don't know how far away from the trail it is? He says, no, it's not in this county. So, yeah, he accepts an alibi based on location, right? Like, that's a big piece of an alibi would be like, hey, I'm 20 minutes away. I'm an hour away. Like, that's a big component to an alibi, don't you think? Like, how long it takes to travel someplace. And, he can't remember where this place is. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, Holder was in the waiting room. Thank you. So Delulu says, my brother gets along with LE even when doing defense work. They all work together. It's not personal. Yeah. And usually, I think of one of something that might have helped a little bit more, and like they pulled in, if there was somebody within that county that would have been capable of, being the defense attorney, right? I think that has a big play into it, because I would imagine you would build rapport, right, with different people, because you're working with them a lot. But still, like, you're professionals, right? Like, you don't know this person or these people, you haven't worked in the past, but you're still like, you went like to law school. Like, went from a McClellan perspective. He went to law school, he ran to be prosecutor, or he was placed in it and he reran. It's got to be a professional, and that's at all angles, right? The defense needs to be professionals, just like we got a common goal. Like, maybe, maybe not a common goal, but like everyone has goals that they're trying to achieve. So you have to essentially put things to the side and just try to achieve it, right? Hey, Criminal Network, nice to see you. I don't know if you joined just now, but we're going over things that Holman does not know. So this might be a long live stream. So get something to drink, some popcorn. No, I'm just kidding. It's nice to see you. All right. So I think I covered this part. How do you test an alibi? Hold on. When you can't place the location. Yeah, I said that. Good. I'm on target here. All right. I didn't go. Okay. Exit route. So they were discussing how Holman, like, what is their theory of, Alan? How did he leave the area, right? Like, that's a big piece. Like, how did he? To me, how did he get past the bunch of people that were sitting in the mayor's lot, right? At that exact time, he's not picked up on camera. Which way did he go? I think this is probably something that they thought at least 100 times throughout the movie. I would, like, man, how did he leave? Because that's important, because there's different witnesses around that area. So trying to figure out how he left. Who could have seen Ellen, right? So he notes they do not have him on video crossing the Freedom Bridge, or the Hoosier Harvest Store camera. And he says, we don't have video. Oh no, sorry. We don't have him on video. That's all I know. But he doesn't, go into detail, which I guess I could kind of understand that, but it was just like very short. We don't have him on video. That's all I know. So just like another, hey, I don't know much type of talking point here. So guys, what else is missing that we haven't, or I haven't talked about yet? Anything that jumps out to you? No alibi is valid if it does not cover the 22 unaccounted hours that the girls were missing. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up here. I think I got everyone. All right. Something else too, going back to Amber Holder. He's asked about Amber Holder, and he says he'd have to review reports to verify what Amber Holder's story was. So he only knew very little. So it just seems like, this is like another area where he acknowledges minimal personal knowledge and pushes everything back into the paper record. And, that's the thing too, like the amount of discovery in this case is crazy. How many years? I always get this wrong because it's like, okay, 2022, right? That's when they arrested Richard Allen. This happened in 2017. So that's like, well, I think it's like 5.5 years at this point. And there's just all those tips and everything. And you got to keep in mind too, like the defense was kicked off the team. I'm sure they had things somewhat organized, put back on the case, and this is, I think, maybe a couple months after, well, probably half a year, but like, gosh, I can't even imagine trying to organize all that paperwork, right? And it seems like, his response is, I have to review the reports. I have to, and I get it. He probably, like, there's a lot of information for him to retain, but I would think at the very least, like, people that, you've investigated, and it was more than just like, crazy aliens came down and and did this type of scenario where they could just kind of easily dismiss to the side. There's other aspects of this investigation that took a little bit much longer to investigate. So to me, one of them is Brad Holder, right? And I don't know if Brad Holder was involved in this. I have no idea. I'm just saying that Brad Holder was a big portion of their investigation, from what I understand, because they had multiple tips about Brad Holder. It wasn't just like one person, tipped Brad Holder in, or one person tipped in Patrick Westfall. That there was way more than one tip. So, and I'm sure that all these tips that did not come together, right? So the fact that these are bigger layers of the investigation, and he doesn't know answers to some of these questions, is just dishonest or disingenuous, if you ask me. Another thing too is this whole missing footage, right, from the Marathon gas station. To me, that's just nuts. Like, he seemed to know a little bit more about that, but it's still like there's a big piece to me where I'm just thinking, did the defense miss an opportunity to ask this question? But let me just summarize this. So during the whole Kagan-Klein era, where they were really pursuing that angle, there was or it could have been a little bit earlier, but anyway, there was footage at the Marathon gas station, right? And somebody was supposed to pick this up. And Holman, in his deposition, said, he's asked about it. And he's also asked a little bit about Doug Carter and different things. But I guess the whole thing was the communication. There was big gaps in communication. Like, people didn't know sounds like people didn't know what other people were doing. Okay. But I think this is a little bit more than that. Okay. So anyway, he's asked about it because supposedly the FBI had stated that Brad Rosie's brother was to pick up this footage. Well, based on the deposition, Holman answers this and says, well, Brad Rosie, or his brother, I don't remember his name, but Rosie's brother, Rosie, that's not something he did. He didn't specialize like in that area like that. He would not be the person to pick this up. So here's a scenario that I think that's crazy with this whole scenario, is that when the ISP asked the FBI about this video, and the FBI says no, like Rosie was supposed to get it, right? Like, and that didn't happen. Like, Rosie wasn't supposed to get it. Where is the question, like, who told the FBI that Rosie was going to get, or Rosie was going to pick up this footage? Like, that's a big piece here missing. Because if you think about it, it sounds like, somebody was disrupting this investigation. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then more in that deposition, I guess there was some turmoil because there was a lack of communication between ISP and the FBI. So this was, I guess, a continuous matter. But if you think about it, who was the liaison between the FBI and ISP? Like, who are those people? Because when any project that I have ever worked on, and I know this is private sector, but any project that I've been involved in, you have a project manager, right? And this project manager assigns, maybe not a science task, because that doesn't happen all the time, but they're following up on these tasks that are open. And there's, usually depends on the project, could be daily calls, it could be weekly calls, it could be monthly calls, right? But there's somebody that's steering it and acting as that liaison between, cross-functional teams, right? So let's say I'm working on a software project, let's just say, for a certain department or product of my company. I'm going to have IT at that meeting. I'm going to have, obviously, the project manager. I'm going to have somebody in operations. I'm going to have somebody that probably does customer, like commercial teams on there. And, each team is going to be impacted by this project, right? So if we look at that in this perspective, and I get it, this is the government. I totally get this. But who, that communication, who would have a direct line of contact with the FBI, right? And who would the FBI be going to at ISP? I mean, I don't think it would be very hard to figure out who the hell told the FBI, who was going to set, that Brad Rosie's brother. I'm so sorry to keep on calling him that because I don't recall his name. But who would have that direct line? It's not like I don't think somebody like, a patrol officer is not going to pick up the damn phone and call the FBI and be like, hey, Brad Rosie's brother is going to go pick this up. Like that's that. The FBI is going to be like, who the hell are you? You know what I'm saying? Because this is unified, they had this unified command, right? And that is a team of people that represents different agencies, just like I was talking about with, within a private, of a business perspective, right? They're going to have, they had meetings that were occurring in the beginning, I guess, every day, towards the end, it might have been weekly, monthly, that, that it wasn't that big of people in this unified command. It wasn't like it was 50 people. So I guess where I'm going with this is, wouldn't a reasonable person ask, who told you Brad Rosie's brother, or I'll just call him Rosie from now on. Who told you, FBI, that's sitting in this meeting right now, that Rosie's said that he was going to pick this up? Because chances are, whoever that person is probably up to some bullshit, if you ask me. Because if what ISP is saying here is Rosie, that would not be something he would be assigned to do. That is not something he specializes in. That is not a task that he does. Wouldn't a reasonable person say, okay, whoever told you that information, we need to figure out why they told him this information. And could that possibly be the same person that, is causing communication issues? I mean, am I being crazy here? Am I thinking, am I expecting things that are not logical here? Because to me, it's pretty much common sense. Sorry for going on a very long tangent about that, but that is just, like I said, you got in this deposition that, Jerry Holman doesn't know much in. You have just multiple conversations about a lack of, communication. To me, it sounds like whoever is running this investigation was not doing their job, because anyone that is a leader in could be a leader in, the sales manager, or it could be the leader who picks up car parts, like responsible for a team to go pick up car parts. Like any leader makes sure that there's communication. That is the number one thing in any type of investigation, project, anything, is communication. If you do not have communication, everything's going south. So that is upon whoever is the leader to make sure that communication layer is there, who has authority to, make decisions, who has the authority to call the FBI and communicate this information. So I think right now it's like you have only a couple options that exist in this scenario. One, Jerry Holman did not provide the infrastructure or the I guess the leadership to make sure that there was communication. But that doesn't excuse him completely or what happened here. You have probably somebody that is steering the investigation in a very wrong direction. Okay. You have one could be like signals got crossed, right? So I'm trying to cut some grace here. Signals got dropped, and maybe somebody misunderstood a direct command to do something, but still that does not excuse the situation. Or you have somebody taking that footage, the FBI maybe, I don't know, it's very possible, could be ISP, and, hiding the truth. Or you can probably have the Marathon gas station, somebody deleting it. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of any possible scenario here, and gave them a blank tape, and then whoever got that blank tape, I don't know, maybe thought they accidentally erased it. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with any type possible, solution to this. And I just really, I can't, I mean, based on how this investigation went, I'm very suspicious, actually. I'm very suspicious on this tape. And then the fact that the murder sheet kind of knew about this, like how the hell did the murder sheet know about this whole FBI toboggle with ISP? That's what I would like to know. So if we want to go back to leaking information, how the hell did the murder sheet know about this? Because I remember listening to that that episode of the podcast where they came out and they specifically stated, this is not the FBI. Do y'all remember that, or am I getting things crossed? Because I'm like 99.9% positive that they made some type of statement about this video. Jamie says, Carter was superintendent of ISP, but he seemed more of just a figurehead. Yeah. And that's kind of what Holman said in this transcript too, was like, he was specifically asked what role did Carter, what role did he perform in this investigation? And he was, Holman, and I'm paraphrasing here, I could find it in the transcripts if we need, but, basically Holman says none. Like no role whatsoever. Well, you know what? At the very least, we have like a spokesperson, right? I mean, because I don't know what happened to the old communication director dude, because like he just like disappeared from this, and then we got like Carter, what do we call him? I forgot what we call him. Oh my gosh, the not Joker, was it? No, or something like that. I don't know. It was a joke. I mean, it's not funny. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, no logic in this case. Absolutely not. Oh, hey Mark, how's it going? Good to see you. All right, what else? Criminal Network says that was FBI's hint that they were all wrong. Yeah, I could have swore. I know that they said about the tip, but I could have swore there was something with this video too. I can't remember what it. Riddler, thank you. Oh, let me get a sip here. I'm drinking well, never mind. I don't want to get in YouTube jail. Yes, they stated the FBI were being blamed but then said the FBI denied the mistakes that were blamed for the lost tip, the lost video, and the lost DNA or fingerprint. Thank you, Jamie. Like, what's up with the fingerprint? Whatever happened to this fingerprint? Because I've heard a lot about this fingerprint. Wasn't it like on a shoe or something like that? Mark, do you recall? Like, Mark has a memory like an elephant. He remembers everything. I remember nothing. Hey, V, how's it going? Okay, so going back to Holder, I know I'm a little bit all over the place here. So I don't know if I don't think I covered this in my notes here. He was asked if Holder was covered. He says, I don't know. You'd have to look at the reports. I don't know if let's see. Yeah, again, he doesn't know anything about the, unredacted charging PCA. And that's for the search warrant. He doesn't know how that information got out. Doesn't know anything about that. He has no memory about, official investigations, internal, because, can't happen on their end, right? It has to be somebody else. Crazy. Doesn't remember ever talking to Ron Logan. Doesn't remember what they were going to charge the defense team with. Doesn't know if body temperatures were taken. Doesn't know if Brad Weber was re-interviewed. Doesn't know if experts seen Holder's photos. Doesn't know where the distance of Holder's work was from the trail. I know I'm being repetitive. I just want to make sure I got over. I'm looking at my list here. Can't give a real example of a unified command decision. Admits that they have they don't have him on the video. No idea how Murder She Got, an exhibit, exhibit 27 that was presented to him. Doesn't know about the leaks, even though he was, sent to investigate the leaks. No official investigations, no specific memory about law enforcement or court. I've said that. Staff sources. Couldn't find any information on Tyler on Telegram. Had no information on that. I said time and death, right? Couldn't find any information on Tyler Carpenter. Like, didn't even, look him up. Couldn't provide details about Judge Gull's instructions. Do you remember that? Where apparently, he was sent to investigate. And this was ordered from Judge Gull, but doesn't recall what Judge Gull asked him to do. He claimed that there was daily, weekly meetings for years, but when asked for one example of a decision they made, he had none. That's in the deposition, pages 121 through 123. I forgot to say or mention that. Doesn't know who the prof is. Doesn't know, that much about Anthony Greeno other than he's a criminal. Has no idea how Richard Allen left the crime scene. No idea. Let me catch up with chat here. Oh, speaking of the devil, Ron Logan, have you ever talked to Jerry Holman? Because Jerry Holman act like he don't know you. Ron Logan says, just got off of work, my first day at a new job at Dairy Queen. I haven't felt this tired in years. Have not worked a real job in years either. Need the monies. Do you get a discount? How's their discount like? And do you do the whole blizzard upside down thing? Like, what happens if it drips? That's what I want to know. What happens? Like, I've never seen it drip, but are they supposed to give you like a free blizzard or something like that? Let me know, Ron. That's more important than if you ever talk to Holman, by the way. Okay, Jamie says, yes, there was also a shoe print, but nobody took a casting of it. The fingerprint or DNA sample allegedly was on a car roof and somebody drove away. This info was put out and was scrubbed. I recall that too. Right? Like, who said that? Was that, I don't want to misspeak, but was that something Melvin stated? Cardi B gave to a son tonight, her child. Oh, she had a son? That's cool. Oh, that's right. Jerry who? I got a big discount. 50%. Oh my goodness. That's awesome. I learned how to make blizzards today. I really enjoy it. That's great. You gonna like bring any like pup cups home? Or what do they call those at Dairy Queen? Pup cups. Do they still call them pup cups or puppuccinos? Do horses like blizzards or ice cream? How about armadillos? I wonder if they'll eat ice cream. All right. So another thing I wanted to talk about tonight is this whole records. All right. So my understanding, this is just me looking into this for several weeks, is the process is supposed to be if a redaction is required. So let's say there is a juvenile witness. The normal thing would be is to shade that out or use initials. And we're seeing entire pages that are being redacted, right? But it's my understanding whoever wants or needs it to be redacted because it's like excluded from public access, they are the ones to do like fill out the redaction sheet. I guess there's a form that's supposed to be completed to then list why you're redacting something. Okay. And I remember in one of Judge Gull's responses to the Supreme Court of Indiana, something like that, she had stated she's waiting for the defense to make redactions. So I'm wondering if the defense, like if let's say the defense was asked to redact certain things, right? They may have just been, I don't know if they can say, no, I'm not redacting that because that's not a valid reason to exclude it from public access. Or, another thing is that they were responsible to do the redaction. They just never filled out the form. But I guess where I'm going with this is like, I think each party, and correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but each party, if it's your exhibit or your transcript or whatever, you're supposed to then, follow the guidelines and do the redactions. And why am I bringing this up? Because we have like 0 forms, I guess. There's like 0 forms that were completed. Actually, by both sides, I guess, prosecution and the defense, that were completed. So I have no idea why. So yeah, I don't get it either, because there's a list. Like there's certain criteria. Like one would be like there's certain things that are automatically like excluded, like medical records, autopsy photos, reports, autopsy videos. I think there's like 12 things or something like that that is like if it's on the list, it's automatically excluded. So you got like one bucket of that. And then the second bucket would be when you're dealing with witnesses. Okay, so like juvenile witnesses, or you're dealing with personal identifiers, like, and not all of them, so like if it's Ron Logan, if Ron Logan would have went and testified, right? And let's say there was his social security number or his driver's license, right? Then you would redact that, right? You're not taking the whole page away. You are blacking out that information. Okay. So that, that's like the second bucket is like personal information, right? So let's say it's not an autopsy report, it's not an autopsy video, it's not mental health records, right? Then you move into bucket number 2, which is personal identifying information, right? Like a lot of these exhibits are not these things, right? So I'm not understanding why all of these we just have all these blank pages. So what would explain that would be that form I'm speaking about, right? The form that would list the specific reason why either it was the whole page. So it's like, let's say it's a whole mental health record of Richard Allen, right? Like that's okay. You would put the actual statute. So I think it's rule, 5. I should know this by now, right? Like 5B11 or something like that. Like that's the actual rule and why it's being excluded, right? Or it would be 5C if it is the children, like if it was a child or it was personal information, you would put, okay, the reason why I crossed this out, it's a social security number and it's, rule 5C3, right? And you would put it on this form. Well, no, there's no forms apparently that exist for any of these exhibits or any of these missing pages from the trial transcripts. So it's just, again, we have a lack of communication, lack of, transparency. And when you request such exhibits or documents that has a redaction, whether it is somebody's crossing it out or it's a missing page, there, I guess what Jody would do would be look at, the form that's supposed to be completed by either the defense or the prosecution, whoever's responsible to adhere to the public access laws, and say, okay, this is 5C3. This is why I crossed this out, or this is 5B11, right? This is why this page is missing. And then somebody can look at that and go into the rules for public access, right? And say, okay, let me go to 5B11. Oh, that's autopsy photo. That must be an autopsy photo, right? And I guess that doesn't exist. And some of these things are just like, let's talk about this bridge guy video, right? There's like 3 different versions of this, I guess. Like one is the original, then you have the enhanced audio, and then I think you have like a combination of that, if I'm not mistaken, or they're turning it around, because you know how Libby is, when you watch this video, she goes from, what is that, portrait mode to landscape. Am I saying that right? So I guess they try to, straighten it out as much as they can and stabilize it and enhance the audio. But at any rate, I don't understand why the public can't get that. You know what I mean? I don't get, it's not a crime. I guess you could say, okay, let me say it was a crime scene. Like the bridge is considered a crime, the part of the crime scene, but it's not a crime scene photo where a reasonable person would think, okay, that's a, deceased person, right? It's not that. Even though I want to say, and I'm not advocating for this because I'm not pushing the actual crime scene photos. Like, to me, I'm not that interested in that, to tell you the truth. I don't really fault anyone that is. It's just me. That's just not what I'm trying to pursue. But technically speaking, crime scene photos, like real crime scene photos, are not excluded from public access. They're not. It actually specifically states in there that it's of, it would be excluded if it was somebody that was undressed, or, if you want to go that angle, if it was a live person, that is excluded. It specifically says live individual. So, I mean, again, I'm not going after these photos. I'm not, I don't fault anyone if they choose to do that, whatever, that's up to you. I personally don't really want to see them. I know I keep on saying that because I really don't. But anyway, technically speaking, again, that is not on the list of excluded exhibits or photos or whatever, evidence. It's not excluded. It's not an excluded court record. It's not. So I don't understand. I guess we can say the crime scene photo, even if you want to say the bridge guy is a crime scene photo, it's not being used as an exclusion as part of the statute. Crime scene photos are not excluded. It's not a legitimate reason to exclude a court record just because it's a crime scene photo. I know I've kind of was very repetitive there. I just wanted to clarify that. So I don't understand why these are being excluded. I did do a record request. Okay. I did that on November 4th. And by statute, they are supposed to at least respond to my request within 7 days. And it doesn't mean that they have to give it to me in 7 days. It's they have to respond to my request. And they did not respond to my request. And what I had asked, I think it was maybe 6 or 7 exhibits. I think both videos of Bridge Guy were on there. Or it was either 2 or 3. Even the original. I requested that. And I think Eldridge's report, or Cecil's, the actual spreadsheet containing all the data was in there. And I think there was a couple missing exhibits on All Eyes' sheet that I asked for. And then I asked for so I know I talked about the form that the attorneys are supposed to complete. Well, there's another form. So after the attorneys complete their form, there's an appellate form. And what the appellate form is that it goes to the appellate team or attorneys, and it lists those reason why things are excluded. So I'm thinking, if this the prosecutor or the defense form is missing, there for sure has to be an appellate form, right? You would think, because it's now going to a higher court. I would think, to me, that is something that, hey, you know what? Maybe I can get away with that shit here, but I'm definitely not going to get away with that shit at the appellate level. So that's why I asked for this form. For all the exhibits that had missing pages in there or were restricted by, because like the video, for example, right? That's like a whole missing record. So I asked for all of them. I think I took out the ones that I know clearly we're not going to get because they're properly excluded, because it was the autopsy photos and video and report, or Richard Allen's medical records, right? I didn't ask for that because I know it's already on the list. So why even ask, for the appellate form, because I know it's already covered. So that's what I did. And they didn't acknowledge. So technically my request is denied by law. Like, it's denied because they didn't respond and acknowledge my message. So the next option is to go and file a motion to compel. And where it needs to go, to my understanding, I could be wrong about this, it is at the court, so either the circus court or the superior court that essentially denied my request. While the appellate court didn't deny my request, so I would need to file that at Allen County. Well, actually, probably technically speaking, Carroll County, but I don't know. I had to get that a little clarified. But yeah, that's where a motion to compel would need to be filed. So I've reached out to a couple attorneys already, just to see, hey, first of all, am I interpreting this law like, everything I just told you? I'm pretty confident I am, but I just, hey, am I crazy to think, this is how this should be done? And then, seeing if somebody would be willing to take this up on my behalf and, represent me. So that's where I'm at on this. Oh, sorry, I was like rambling. I'm going to go off camera for just 1 second. Okay. I'm sorry, I needed to vape. So Fish says, I would say, according to the writ, that they turned in against the Franks memo, like not being a public document. I think that they didn't feel like that the stuff should be redacted. Yeah. I mean, that would, I don't know, I would probably stay firm on that too, right? Like, hey, don't ask me to do something that is not law, right? Like, I would think that they have a obligation to follow the law as law is written and approved by our lawmakers, right? And I'm sure that there's a professional conduct, and I'm saying on both sides, right, that you need to act ethically and follow such law, and somebody shouldn't be telling you not to follow the law, right? So I don't know. I probably wouldn't redact things either. So maybe this was all upon Jody to do. I don't know. But you would think at the very least that Nick McClellan would have filled out his form, right? So does the form exist or not? Like, I don't trust that Jody would give us the right answer here, because so if Jody is not being truthful here, to me, that would mean that she knows that there's not a legitimate reason on these forms, on the forms to exclude them from public access. If they do exist and she's just not handing it over, right? If they don't exist, why doesn't Nick's exist? Because let's even say that Judge Gold followed the correct procedure to seal these records, which she didn't, by the way. She did not follow the legal procedure to do that. But let's just pretend she actually, let's pretend the judge was actually judging here. You would then put on that redaction the statute that says that these records were sealed. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's still, I would think there's still something, at least at the appellate level. And the thing too is, like, Nick wasn't even really specific in his motion to seal these records. He wasn't. He was very vague about it, and he said, to keep the crime scene and autopsy photos sealed. Right? I'm sorry if I'm being very repetitive, because I know that I already talked about this like 5 times, but for those who haven't heard, keeping them sealed, like, there was no sealing of these records to begin with, right? Like, going back to Fish's comment here, not only did the judge say, hey, provide the Frank, memo exhibits and all that. Not only did they say that to her, they also cited like the proper procedure to seal records, and there was no hearing to then reseal them, because you remember it was so like remember when the probable cause was sealed in the beginning, right? Like Nick's bullshit story that they're still investigating, and they need to protect the investigation. They don't want people to know. You know what I mean? Remember that BS story? Well, anyway, Judge Gull then, when they finally had a hearing to decide if they would keep those records sealed, right? Judge Gull said, no, these records need to be released. But she also stated that the attorneys agreed that certain exhibits or whatever, especially like, what is it called? Gosh, I can't think of the name anymore. But anyway, that certain things still need to remain confidential, right? Well, if it's still not on those things that I was telling, those lists, like in the different buckets that I mentioned, it still would require a hearing. So just because those exhibits and everything were marked confidential does not mean that they were necessarily sealed. So the fact that Judge Gull put in there that to keep these exhibits and records sealed is like, what are you talking about? There was nothing that was sealed, right? Does that make sense? Like, sealing is like a whole process where you would have to go through an entire, like another hearing would need to occur and say, yes, we need to keep these sealed. And you know what? A catch-all for all of this is, guess what? There's circuit, court cases where the circuit says if it's presented in court, in an open court, it is public record. So even if you want to get past this whole, like, hey, certain things are to be, a process to seal it, there's still rulings out there that says that anything presented in open court is public record. So, okay. So the Real Dragon says, just looked it up. The fingerprint was left on top of a car that then drove off. So was it a fingerprint on the car directly, or are you talking about like fingerprint on top of a shoe or a phone? I know obviously it's not the phone. Like, was it the fingerprint on something else than the car was driven away? Or are you saying a fingerprint was left on a car? And thank you if you're still in here. So Jamie says, fishy, it was never said. Or I'm sorry, fishy says, what was the fingerprint taken off of? And then Jamie said, fishy, it was never said. And then Fish stated what they would find if they input everything from the case, the FBI, just everything, and then analyze the entire thing, YouTube videos, everything. We need Palantir, Gotham, Palantir. Is that like an AI company, Palantir? I think I had their stock. I did pretty good on that stock. Don't tell me what that stock's at right now, please. If I am right, because like I think I bought them like for $9 a share. All right. Because she says, well, even the probable cause when that was sealed, the Supreme Court of Indiana like told Diener, hey, you should probably unseal that. Jamie says she denied hearings left and right. She just skipped that step altogether. Yeah, she does whatever she wants. So did anyone come across the one judge? Like, there's an article, and I think it hit the news where there was a judge in Howard County that was kicked off the bench by the Supreme Court. Sorry, I know you probably heard me gulping, and I get annoyed when other people do that, and I do it. Sorry. Yeah, so anyway, this judge was totally like, the Supreme Court was like, I guess this judge was kind of crazy or unhinged, and he actually was removed from the bench. But like, Howard County is not that far away from Carroll County. But I think it takes a lot to kick a judge off the bench, like a lot. And it's not like appellate cases that have been like overturned or like sent back to, the circuit or superior judge. It's not that. Like, that doesn't kick a judge off. It's like misconduct. Like, kind of like things that we're seeing here. I'm going to put a link in here if anyone wants to join. Oh, wow. There's a lot more in here. I'm sorry. Like, the StreamYard, like, changed. Oh. Fingerprint was collected, then placed on the car. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't think she read that. I don't think she really looked at those Frank exhibits either. And what really got me was like you remember when Rosie and what's his name? Scrummin? Not Rosie. What was it? Scrummin and what is it? Librato? I see. I always botch names, y'all. Sorry. But anyway, when they were on the case, Judge Gall specifically said, hey, if you want to, keep this or adapt this Frank's motion, let me know and we'll have a hearing. And then the defense was brought back on and, oh, no hearing for you. She's like the soup guy from Seinfeld. And I know it's like he's not called a soup guy, but I'm not trying to say the other name. Okay, so you were told it was from the shoe. Yeah, I am a hypocrite. Was it that bad, Mustang? No soup for you. No records for you. No due process for you. No hearing for you. No jail for you. No defense for you. I'm doing that accent really bad, ain't I? So, can any of you all think of any other examples that Holman didn't know? I mean, he says, I don't know a lot. I think he also said something about, oh, yeah. I'm totally paraphrasing because I don't have the deposition in front of me any longer, but said something about the gatekeeper, like, and if that road is actually a private drive. I know it is at a certain point, but like, is it a private drive from the gate? I don't think it is. I could be wrong. But Holman didn't know. He didn't know who owned that. He didn't know if it was a public road or not. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you literally like work in that jurisdiction. Yeah, I didn't know that either, right? What else? Anyone have any other examples? Fish, don't you miss doing live streams? I think you should totally come up here. Just saying. Come on, you know you're dying to come and talk to me. Oh yeah, I think that's right. He didn't recall who checked sex offender leads. Um, Let me think. He didn't know about did he not know about like a polygraph or something like that? He didn't know um it was Duvall, right? Duvall. If he was asked to take a polygraph. Fish says, I bet he doesn't recall his wife's birthday. It'd be like funny if like Holman was really like Rain Man or something. I think there was also something about Ferenczi in the like I think it was if he recalled if Ferenczi raised Odinism concerns, if I have that right. And Purdy. He like knew nothing about this Odinism angle. And again, like we could like some people discredit it and that's fine. You know what I mean? Like everyone has their own theories about things and I'm not knocking anyone really that believes in it or doesn't, but the fact that you don't know detail it's part of your investigation. You don't know details about these things. To me is nuts. Like selective memory, right? Like anything that came, even like with the like the extremists, like we could even like take Odinism out of the picture. You know, there was other. I recall this time frame very well. Actually, 2017. It was right around the time where, or was that 2018? But there was a lot of hate groups, or at least a spotlight on them because of political reasons. And there was reports of these, hate groups. And it seems like there was, concerns about this. And I guess it is like tied into the whole, Holder and Westfall angle, right? I don't think he even recalled Elvis Fields. And he didn't, like, going back to the leak, he didn't recall how Tahara contacted them. Was it email? Was it phone? Did she stop in? And I mean, he was really entangled in the investigation of the leaks. I know I've said that before, but he really was. And like, I think that's important details to know. Hey, Shivers, you're late. You're late to a live stream that I've made at the very last minute. How dare you? Yeah, that's a good point. He could remember Greeno being a criminal, and those are his words, but not criminals who are persons of interest in this case. That's such a good point, Jean. Yeah, I wonder if he does recall the Flora case. Shibby, I'd invite you up here, but you don't have a really good track record today. Just saying. I'm totally giving you shit. Oh, funny. Here, I'll put a link in here. I got about like 30 more minutes and I'm going to shut it down. So if you want to come up, even though I just gave you a bunch of shit, you're more than welcome. Anyone's welcome. Well, pretty much everyone, but like one person. No witches are allowed up here. Just saying. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned this. So Fish says she does. She says, wait, I do and I don't miss it. It's kind of, I'm kind of in a funk, honestly. I get it. I get in those. You have no idea what I'm talking about? What you talking about, Willis? Yeah, I don't know what's going on with StreamYard here. Hello?
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Am I even on?
Surprise! Huh?
Am I on?
You are.
I
You
don't.
are live.
Ooh. I don't even know what are you referring to about.
Your track record today?
Yes. Yeah. Haven't you been seeing my videos? I've been putting out
I
great
don't know. So like
positive
rumors.
energy.
I haven't like watched any of that today. Like if you're talking about anything that has occurred 3 hours and after. So 3 hours ago
Uh,
and after, I have no idea. Have you been
I
posting?
haven't. No. Wasn't me. I haven't been on YouTube at all for at least a day.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I could have swore that I was listening to a live stream. And there was a person on that live stream that sounds just like you.
Ooh.
Yeah. It didn't end very well. Just saying.
Well, I guess everyone has their moments. I'm sure this person feels bad and,
Oh,
had a good nap and just woke up right now and feels like he wants to forget all
oh.
about that.
So this person like does not want another person pointing this out at this current time.
Ooh, um, he expected it, and but he was hoping it wouldn't happen, I guess.
Okay, well, that never happened either. So
Right?
let's move
Right.
on. Did
So what do
you
you?
have a good nap?
I did, I did.
Well, that's good.
I woke up in a new world here.
Did you?
Fresh start. Yeah.
That's good. Every day's a new day.
Yes. For anyone not knowing, I kind of flipped out on a live stream earlier and
No.
walked off stage inappropriately, and I feel horrible, and I'm very sorry if I upset anyone.
I think that would go a long way if maybe you like contact this such person
Oh, great
and
idea.
say that. Okay.
Great idea.
I know.
When I
Genius
fully wake
today.
up, yeah. If I'm gonna call you before I say anything.
Okay. Yeah. Because I
All
just
right.
give really good advice all the time.
Actually, you're very, very good. You saved me the other night on that my second live stream where oh God, I guess I did my first live stream a couple hours before last night, and I didn't put myself up on stage, so I sat there talking to myself and making sound effects noises, thinking I was talking to the audience for 35 minutes where I wasn't even up on stage at all. So,
So I was
yeah.
telling Shibby and to my subs that have been around for a while, I'm sure you recall me doing the same exact thing. And like I was not only I was not by myself during this live stream where I
Hmm.
forgot to put myself on stage, but another person that might be in this chat was also on this live stream. And it was about an hour and a half of talking and had no
Wow.
idea.
Speaking of, can you put us up on this thing so I can see my little thing moving?
Oh,
It feels
yeah.
weird.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, that's just me.
boom. Oh,
Wait, wait.
there's a confirmation that I'm talking.
Yeah.
That feels better
Just
already.
say hi. Hi,
Yeah.
Shibby. See,
Hi,
I'm on
how's it going?
camera.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a camera real soon and shock the world.
They're not that expensive. How's my
Oh, I
lighting? Do I
know.
look really pale like
No,
usual?
no. Your lighting's great.
Okay.
You're
So
pretty close to the camera.
Shibby's like, am I? Should I
Yeah,
sit
there
back?
you go. No. I
How
mean,
should I
you're right
go?
up there. Yeah, you're right. I got you on a huge 52-inch TV too, though. So
Oh, wow. That's
yeah.
scary. Sorry. Let me go off of
No.
camera. I feel bad for you.
No. You don't have to. I love it. I'm jelly. I want to get my own and shock this whole world.
So Jamie says, I missed that. Yeah. So, okay. So to
So
fill
yeah, your
everyone
first one,
in,
your first live stream.
Mark and I had actually a really good, not actually, but like we did have a really good live stream that we thought was occurring. And we talked
Wow.
about a lot of different things and dropped
Wow.
a couple bombshells in there actually. And had no idea that I wasn't on stage. And I was
Wow.
really, really nervous during this live stream. So I was trying to keep up with the chat, you know, and I didn't see anyone say, "Hey, where's Peggy and
Wow.
Mark?" Because like this is an hour and a half, right? Like like the chat they were all talking to each other this whole time, you know?
That is
So
wild.
I
Yeah.
had like it wasn't like it was like, 5 messages and like, "Hey, are they joining?" There was like a
Well,
full conversation going on and like I totally miss. So they enjoyed themselves, I think.
Can you why don't you play my first one where you, you'll see the crowd is popping like 30 something people. Criminality, all these huge names, Cryptex. Everyone's saying hi to each other and talking, and I'm talking away. And I was so charming, and I was telling jokes. And I told stories, and then I would drop a sound effect. So now, when you go back and watch it, all you see is you don't see anything except the chat having fun, talking away to each other, and me every few minutes dropping a sound effect, and that's it.
Oh,
So I
you were
thought it was.
using the
Mm,
so okay, I know what you were doing. Hold on.
oh yeah.
I
I was
have
telling jokes and everything, exactly like you did. And I
Oh,
didn't
they
know.
added overlays in here.
Oh,
Candy.
nice.
Look at
Very
that.
cool.
It's a little bit
Well,
late though. What do you
that's
think?
actually good. Yeah, that's neat.
Pumpkin.
Well, and
That's
I
mine.
totally thought like you did. I bought a new microphone and I was playing with it. I even bragged for 5 minutes about my new microphone, how great it sounded because I had tested it in my computer. I
Mm-hmm.
tested it in StreamYard, and I just didn't. I assumed it was working. The lights were moving, and I didn't know I had to put myself on the stage.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do that. So
Wow.
it's
So
common.
so you guys probably had a
No,
great live stream, eh?
that's
And then you didn't.
Huh?
You guys probably had a
Huh?
great live stream your
no,
first one.
that's
Sorry. All right, I won't do it again. Go ahead. We had a what
No,
did you ask me? I'm so sorry.
I was watching you on YouTube, so that's why I kept talking at the wrong time. So it's my fault.
No. Oh.
Anyways, so you were
Yeah,
talking Delphi, eh?
his mic. What kind of mic did you get? Yeah, your mic is good. Like mine, this is mine. I think I have the same one that Angela had because like do you ever watch it where she like took the thing out and she's just like talking around? It's
Well,
yeah, this one.
my mic. Oh, you know what? It looks very close to that. I have like the little pop screen. Mine's smaller. It was just $59 on Amazon. I don't know. It's just got a long boom arm on it, and it's just nice and close to my face. That's
That's
it.
good.
But I think it sounds better because previously I was talking on just a cheap $20 Bluetooth headset. So
Yeah, well, some of those headsets are really good.
well, it was good.
Oh,
Mine
thank
was
you,
good.
Jamie. You're so
I thought
sweet.
it was good, the Bluetooth, but once you do this, it sounds so much better. Even especially after if we accidentally talk over each other a bit, it doesn't
Mhm.
really cut each other out as badly. So
That's good. Hey, sounds important. And I steered you the wrong way because remember how